You're listening to Trek FM.
Want to join in the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode? Join the Babel Conference, our listeners' discussion group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field, and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
This is Steve Sansweet of Rancho Obi-Wan, and you're listening to the 602 Club.
Welcome to the 602 Club, Trek FM's local watering hole. So excited to be here tonight as we have finally gotten to the last page of instructions. We are ready to put the cap on that castle here in Legoland. And with me, as she is almost every single week, the one and only Christy Morris. How's it going, Christy?
I'm back. Yay.
Yay.
As my boss says, you came back again.
Did you ever see Kid History? They did that Star Wars video.
No.
Okay, so everybody, I want you to stop what you're doing, search Kid History Star Wars, and watch that. So Kid History is where the adults act out the kids telling the story. So the adults are acting out with and mimicking their voices, not mimicking, but mouthing the words
as
that the kids
narrate.
said. So it's really funny. And there's a moment where Luke Skywalker sits back down in the cantina and is like, I came back. I'm right here. I came back. It's just, anyway. So that's what I always think of when somebody says, I'm back. I came back. I'm right
I came
here.
back.
Yeah. So, no, it's great to have you back. So, and for everybody who doesn't know, I think it's important maybe to share, but you do have Crohn's disease. And so every once in a while it acts up, and sometimes that might keep you from being able to record all the time. So, are you feeling better?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Sometimes lately I have gotten blockages, which I'm sure people even with IBS can experience, and it just, causes a lot of pain and needing to lay down. And it's hard to podcast when you're laying down.
Yeah, it's very true. It's hard to focus, I'm sure, when your stomach feels like it's in knots.
Yeah, but thanks. But I'm doing better today.
That's awesome. Well, we're so glad that you're feeling better and glad to have you back. Of course, before we dive in, we're going to be talking about, I think everybody probably got it from the beginning, but we're going to be talking about the Lego Movie 2, the second part. And before we do that, just remember, of course, you can find the 602 Club all over the place. Wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe to the 602 Club. If you're over on Apple Podcasts, do help us out. Give us a star rating review. It helps people find the show. It helps the show grow. We really appreciate it. We've gotten some reviews lately, which we called out 2 weeks ago. So we really appreciate people coming in and giving us those star ratings and reviews. Of course, you can find us on social media all over the place, Trek.fm. Online, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. We've got Twitter at TrekFM. And maybe you would like to talk to listeners from all around the world who listen to Trek FM. We have a listeners-only discussion group on Facebook. It's called the Babel Conference. The way to get there is go to the search field on Facebook and type in Babel. Or if you're on the website at trek.fm, any of the show pages that you'll see, there's a little button that says discussion. You can click that, and that would bring you over there. And then last but not least, maybe you would like to send us an email. Christy and I would love to get an email from you. And the best way to do that is to go to trek.fm/contact, choose a show, choose the 602 Club, and then that will come to Christy and I. All of that said, I kind of wonder, just general impressions, like when you were coming out of the Lego Movie 2, what was something that just, was there anything that like really stood out to you? Just, was there anything about this one? Were you coming out positive, negative? What do you think?
I was coming out positive. I feel like that Lord and Miller, in a way, still didn't learn as much about the telling more of the story early on in the movie, but I still loved where it ended up. And especially with having a little sister of my own and, experiencing that whole thing of them wanting to play with you and being a little bit younger than me. My sister's 4.5 years younger. I was always worried that she was going to break my stuff or that she and I wouldn't like the same things. So how could we play together? So it was a really good point that I hope that maybe our niece and nephew took away from it too.
Yeah, no, I came away from it, I think, pretty positive as well. Part of it, I think, was that the movie, it was very funny, and there were a lot of jokes in the movie that were, definitely there for the adults, which was great. Really enjoyed that. Just some things that they reference, and I came away from the movie in a pretty positive light, and I think one of the things that I really took away from that was that sense of brothers and sisters, because I have a little sister. And,
so we both do.
Yeah, and that's my only sibling. And as we were growing up, I mentioned before on our Lego movie podcast where I would just sit there and play with my Legos all the time. Well, my sister, if she was ever really angry with me, would go into my room and kick all of my Legos. So she would destroy everything that I had built. And then, of course, I couldn't really retaliate because if I hit my sister, I would get in trouble because, you don't hit girls. And I would get in even more trouble if I hit my sister. So, it was just like I think one of the things that they did really well in this movie was kind of capture that sibling frustration, when you have a younger sibling and things just aren't really completely going according to the way you would want in the relationship, and just the frustration of, my sister and I were pretty close as kids, but still there were those things that like they get on your nerves and they're annoying or they're mean, like all of those things. I felt like this movie kind of played on that really well, and I think you're right. I think it kind of shows a good message for anyone watching it, with younger siblings specifically, and or older siblings, is that we can come together, we can find common ground, and that's really I liked that. For them, the common ground had been Legos when they were kids, and as they got older, that kind of started to separate in that. But the best place to start is to find some common ground together. Right.
And that everything doesn't have to be so rigid, I think was the word I used last time. That, I feel like Finn really wants everything to be a certain way, kind of like his dad. He's already got the city planned out. He knows what he wants Emmett and Wildstyle to do together. And it's like, you're thinking, oh, Emmett's finally saved the day and now they're going to get to go on other adventures and not be so worried about President Business destroying everything. And then comes in the little sister, who you can tell by the voicing difference of the characters being more like a baby. Like she's a lot younger, maybe 2 or 3 years old, coming in and crashing everything. And, what she considers fun is tearing apart everything he's built. And he hates that. I mean, I think anybody would, but he does eventually figure out how they can play together and still both enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. I love that. We are from planet Duplo and we are here to destroy your world.
Right?
Oh, that was
And then
awesome.
Even when he extends the olive branch, she goes, more, and destroys everything.
I think that is one of the things that was, it was just really sweet about the movie. And I think the movie just does a great job of, gosh, if you have a brother or a sister that's younger than you specifically, I think, you can really relate to this movie. And at the same time, if you are the younger, I think you can really relate to this movie if you have older siblings, and so I think it's really nice to see a movie that's kind of about that. And, I thought it was interesting because, one of the things that we get is the movie is really about that process of growing up and what it means and what it looks like to grow up and the struggle of that, especially with how it relates to how you deal with your family. Because as you start to try and branch out and find yourself, who you are as a person, that can bring a whole different aspect to the relationship. And specifically here, you know, Finn's trying to kind of become older, be cooler, you know, all of those things. And all of that has an impact on the way that he views his sister and views the, you know, I guess the games they used to play. And I just thought that was really important because there's a sense where this movie kind of, it seems to be saying just because you're getting older doesn't mean that you have to lose the ability to, it doesn't mean like you have to be moody and despair. And like, I really appreciated that this has a really good message about like what it means to try and grow up and deal with the disappointments and frustrations and hardships that can kind of chip away at the hope we have as kids. And we kind of lose that sense of wonder and excitement about all that stuff. And then realize that, you know, it is okay for everything to not be awesome all the time. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't kind of like work towards, you know, believing that things can be better.
Right. And I mean, I feel like you see that the most when it's Emmett and Rex confronting each other in the Undar system of Dryar. I love the jokes about the names of things, but it seems like he's in this hurry to grow up, which you see in Rex, that he thinks that the things he used to like are lame, or that maybe his friends will think that that's lame, and he needs to have different hair and be trying to grow a beard already at, you know, like 11 years old, and change his clothes and, you know, do everything to try and be cooler and look older. And then he realizes maybe that he doesn't have to do that, and that who he is right now is okay, and that growing up takes time. It doesn't have to be right away. And that, like you're saying, Matt, you know, maybe the childish wonder and the being able to play and have an imagination is something that he realized he should hold on to longer and continue to build with his sister. You know, I mean, I think that it really gets emotional when she has that look on her face when she's sitting on her bed alone. Like, I just wanted him to let me into his world because I look up to him.
Yeah. No, because it is interesting. I love with, you know, Rex and with Lucy, we get two different sides of this whole idea of like what it means to like try and grow up. And you know, both Rex and Lucy are kind of doing the same things. They've always kind of, I mean, they become people that kind of push other people away. They only really rely on themselves. They, you know, they're all about like being really cool and everything. And in their work to shy away from and reject conformity, you know, towards like certain types of pop music or anything like that, they've actually just conformed to a different type of conformity. So you just went from liking, you know, Taylor Swift to Radiohead. You know, it's like, but because one thing isn't cool anymore with a certain segment of the population that it, like it used to be, you know? And what I kind of thought was interesting is I feel like in some ways, and I don't think the movie completely plays out this theme as well as I would like it to, but it does seem to be saying is you trying to live your life by what other people think is cool is never going to bring you true happiness.
Absolutely.
Know? And so, you know, we see that in the end with Finn because he's not really happy. Like him and his sister are fighting all the time. And you know, what's interesting is the thing they're fighting over is the thing they're going to lose because their mother's going to take it away because she's tired of them fighting over it. And, you know, I just thought that was really an interesting aspect of the movie, that his fighting, trying to be like a different, cooler version of what he thinks people like his age are supposed to be, are in some ways, I don't know. It's hard because it's not really as well done as I want it to be. So it's not quite as cut and dry. But I think that it's somewhat there, and I like that they at least tried to do that.
Yeah, I think it was especially important that they had this kind of continuation of the family message too, because in the first movie, I think it was really great that it ended up being a story about a father and son. And then they did sort of tease at the end that it could be next about him and his sister, but you didn't know for sure. And then now it comes back in, but in a really creative way. And I feel like exactly like what you're saying, it has multiple messages, and that it's okay to take your time and to spend time with your family, and to have this relationship where you're able to get along, or else your toys get taken away.
There's this thing that happens as we grow up that I feel like we, especially in Western culture, we kind of get driven away from our families. And I think there's a real sadness in that, because we're told like to be family person isn't cool, and it's just not what, that's just not what people do. And I liked here that Finn and his sister are kind of able to let that go in the end. And, when she says to him, like, I only wanted you, to play with me because you're my inspiration. I thought, that's it's hard to not have, even if you're a cold-hearted brother at that point because you're mad, it's kind of hard to not want to reciprocate that emotion. And I really appreciated that they went there with this movie, because I think it's something that's truly important to remember, like, because these are the people that, family are the people that you can't buy, like they're the people you're born with, and hopefully there'll be the people that are there by your side the whole time, like nobody else. And, not everybody gets that, but to just reject it out of hand, and to kind of take away that gift from yourself is silly. And that's what I loved, that we kind of see, Rex as a character kind of do juxtaposed against Emmett, him. And I think it was interesting too, because, Rex becomes that character because there are people in his life that have kind of pushed him towards being that. Emmett has been told, well, he's not this and that, and people would like him better if he was more tough, and
right.
So I think it really just goes to show that we have to be very careful, as we're raising our kids, what we tell them that they should be and what they shouldn't be. And because it can make a huge impact on their psyche, and it can make a huge impact on then, even like we were talking about, the way they treat their brothers and sisters and those kind of things. And so I think that was one of the things that I feel like, again, there's a lot of little things here. I don't always feel like they kind of like coalesce the way I would want as themes, but I do feel like there's a lot of things they are saying. And I appreciate that a movie is trying to say these kind of things.
Right, and that it's not just the surface level of anti-conformity and music and, bright colors, that it's got a deeper message to it at the end, I think is really great and relatable. I mean, obviously not everybody even has siblings. Some people are only children, but I think that a lot of people have been in this situation and can sympathize and maybe even realize, maybe I should have handled this differently, or maybe now I should work on my relationship with my siblings. I just think that it has, like you're saying, a lot of different things you can take from it, but all positive. And nice, honestly, that a kid's movie is getting these kind of messages in there.
Well, and I think the biggest message that I really appreciated was the one, it's at the very end where they sing the song, "Everything's Not Awesome."
Right.
And I really liked the lyrics of the song because it says, everything's not awesome. Things can't be awesome all the time. It's not a realistic expectation, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make everything awesome in a less likely unrealistic kind of way. We should maybe aim for not bad, because not bad, well, that would be pretty great. And just like, I think kind of part of that reminds me of, we tell kids that they can do whatever they want to do, whatever they put their minds to. That's a really huge expectation to put on kids, And it's an unrealistic one, and it's not a true one. You really can't do anything that you put your mind to,
That's true.
That's just not the way the world works. So, and I think it's like that whole rosy, everything is awesome kind of message. And I think this movie kind of brings it back down to reality, which is to say, look, everything's not always going to be awesome. Everything's not going to always be great. You're not always going to be great at everything. But, I think that means that then we can focus on, okay, let's cultivate in you what you are really good at, because everybody is unique and different in those ways and has those gifts that they've been given, and cultivating what you are really good at and then finding out how to use that is the most important thing in life, not I can do whatever it is I want to do. And then, it's like, I remember in the movie Lady Bird where she's like, I think I want to be a math prodigy, but you have really bad grades in math. It's like, you can't, you can't
just decide sometimes that you're going to be good at this thing because that just may not be one of your gifts.
Right. And it's okay.
It's certainly not mine.
To remember in life that everything isn't always going to be awesome, because I think that's a really good expectation for us to set. Like, it's kind of the classic saying, well, life's not fair. We do need to remember those things. And
or
I think
when people ask you how you're doing, and we always say fine or great, how are you? It's a simple answer to not really give much information when maybe you're not great. And that's kind of hard. Even, it's good, I guess, that you mentioned I deal with Crohn's disease, and people think sometimes just because they don't know much about it, that it's like an illness that I caught and it's going to go away in a week. And so they'll say, are you better this week? And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm better than I was the other day when it was really bad. But I mean, I'm never going to be totally 100% again because I have this chronic illness. It means it is forever.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that, but the thing I did really like about this movie is kind of that it does help kind of set realistic expectations for life. And I think they did that pretty decently in the movie. I really appreciated those messages, because I do think that it's something that I think it isn't great for us to continually feed kids messages that everything is awesome and you can be whatever it is you want to be, and all of these things that kind of set these standards that could never be reached, and then, it is depressing. Life does get depressing, when that doesn't happen. And you do want to just listen to Radiohead and eat ice cream all day, so it's good that they've found a way to kind of work that in. I think that's a good thing for then parents and kids to be able to talk through together.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to know, we talked a little bit about the Rex character. What did you end up thinking about him in the movie? And the twist that they give that I'm pretty sure most people that are adults figured out.
Well, thanks for making me feel dumb, because I didn't. I thought it was interesting that they made it, that it was actually Emmett from the future. I didn't see the future part coming, but I did expect something was amiss because the outfits were so similar. Maybe it was an evil twin or something. But it was a really interesting way to go about talking about growing up and putting it right in front of him, making him confront his problems, basically. I like that. And I mean, when they first introduce Rex, you think actually it's a totally different character that's come to rescue Emmett from a bad situation, and that, Rex has Emmett's best interest in mind, and they're going to prevent Armageddon from happening together. And then you end up finding out that all along, he was just wanting to destroy everything, and that it was actually the little sister that wanted things to work together. So I like that aspect of it, and didn't see it coming personally, but I guess you did.
No, I mean, I just figured out that somehow that they were probably the same character in some way. I didn't know it was going to involve time travel.
Okay.
Which is funny that they I used the flux capacitor for so that
right. It was
great.
A long story.
Yeah. But I really liked the way that they used the character to talk about all of these themes about, becoming the person that everybody told you that you should be, and that person ended up actually becoming somebody that people didn't really like as much, and also being the person that really in the end only thought about themselves. And
right, like he cut himself off from everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also, part of that was Rex's perspective, right? Like he thinks everybody abandoned him when he's under the dryer. But that's not really what happened, And so I think Rex is a good case in the movie, especially for parents and kids to be able to talk about, like, how we choose to react to our situation is who we are going to be. And nobody can make us become bad or choose the wrong thing. We make that decision, So whether or not somebody does something to me, the way I react to that person is under my control. They don't have anything to do with it. Nobody can force me to become anything. I choose to become something. And so I think that was really interesting because, Rex chooses basically to turn his back on everybody and just focus on him. And that's really all that matters. And so it becomes about the way we choose to view what's happened to us. Do we allow that to make us cynical people and jaded people, or do we allow for, grace to happen? And I think, we totally see Rex being somebody who doesn't really kind of believe in a world that deserves any grace or anybody else deserves any grace. No, it's cut and dry. I'm here for me.
Right. Like you've wronged him, then you're done forever. And it's exactly what you were saying about it's how you look at it, and that you can only control yourself. And I thought it was cool too, the way that they handled Lucy in that way, controlling her own life and her growing up, because even though it was a little dramatic, the reveal that she used to be one of the pop stars making the song Everything Is Awesome, I thought that it was nice that they at first introduce you to her idea about it being, well, it's okay that we liked that stuff when we were younger, Emmett, but we have to grow up. But it's actually just that she is not okay with her own past, and she eventually gets to where she's okay with it and says, you know what, that's a part of who I am, and that's okay. And I can still like it if I want to, but it is where I came from, and I can't change that now in the future. So I thought that was nice too. Again, that it's all in how you look at it. And then it can help you continue to grow as you get older.
Well, and I think there's a real danger too, because, by denying part of our past or who we are like that, there's a harm in that to us. And, And I think that the movie does a very good job of saying that, by growing up doesn't mean that we have to become cynical people who throw away all things that we thought were fun when we were younger. That doesn't have to be what growing up means. We can still grow up to be people who, yes, we become more adult. We'll have more adult responsibilities, but the way that we then look at the world and treat others around us doesn't have to be in a way that pushes others away. It can be in a way that brings people together. And, that's kind of the other part of the end of Everything's Not Awesome, which is, everything is better when we stick together. That
right.
We need each other. And that's the whole thing that was really nice to watch, brother and sister then come together at the end and find a new normal for them, based on the fact that, and I think this is an interesting thing too, is like accepting your siblings as you grow older, because, yes, your younger sibling is always going to be younger than you, but as you get older, that becomes less and less important, and they can actually be a person that you can lean on, and it can be a person that you can spend time with and learn something from and enjoy spending time together, especially as you get older, because, they have their own unique experiences to bring in and everything. I just really appreciate, I thought that was really well done, and you get that with the Lucy and Rex character, I think, very well, kind of showing the both sides of where Finn is, and then showing where he moves to once the movie ends. So I appreciated that. So,
and I will say, I did learn several important lessons. One is that we don't ever need to grow out of pop music. It is okay if I still love the Spice Girls at 31 years old. I don't care what anybody says. And B, don't leave Legos on the floor.
Yeah. Do not leave Legos on the floor. No. I having been a person who had Legos out in their room growing up, I have many a time stepped on a Lego, and it is, I wouldn't know if it's worse than childbirth or comparable, but it does, it does not.
It's pretty horrible.
Good. Especially when you're not expecting it. I think that's the thing that's the worst. So,
yeah.
What did you think of Queen Watevra Wa-Nabi?
Watevra Wa-Nabi?
Mm-hmm.
She can be whatever she wants to be?
Yeah, apparently. She's a shape-shifting alien, so.
I thought it was perfect because also, as a little girl playing with my toys, I did love that even if it was an inflated sense of self, that my mom told me I could be whatever I wanted to be, even if maybe it wasn't true. I think we can still find a way of encouraging kids, maybe without being unrealistic about it. And so I think that's where that came from within his sister. And then also, I did love the fact that it wasn't one particular doll or something like that it was a Lego, because she got the inspiration from her brother and her dad, and that it was constantly changing because she liked a lot of different things. And although she wanted it to be in quote unquote usually girly colors like pink and yellow and stuff, that it could shapeshift into a horse or a scary octopus thing. That was funny. And could marry Batman if she wanted to.
Hey guys. I thought that the way that they played that character was really funny, because of course, you get to the Systar System, and she's singing this song where everything does feel awful, like she is truly going to be the evil person.
Right. It's like you're protesting too much that you're not evil.
Yes, it was great. And like, I loved that. I mean, one, I loved they were like, oh no, we're in a musical, and that there were songs like this. And it was very, very funny because, of course, yes, she is protesting And the language used is how I'm not this, I'm not that, like, and they're all like evil things. And so they really play it up as if she is going to be the evil character. And then, like you said, in the end, it turns out that no, she's a representation of the sister wanting to bring things together, and that,
Right.
By Watevra Wa-Nabi marrying Batman, that the worlds would, collide. And I thought that was really funny. I also loved her song about how she tricks Batman into wanting to marry her by telling...
Oh, yeah. Just not into Gotham City, guys.
Yeah, just not into Gotham City, guys. Which was very clever. I mean, the best way to make Batman want to do something in this universe is tell him how he's not as cool as Superman, basically. Which
right.
was great. It was what I did think was interesting in the movie, and somewhat where it's like the themes didn't completely connect, is the way in which they show all the characters who had gone to the Systar System being almost like brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the disconnect came, I felt like, thematically, where it didn't quite all add up, because there was almost this thing where it's like they were trying to say that, all of these like conformist pop music, like those kind of things are like make you be one way. And I didn't know, that part is the part that just didn't quite work for me.
I agree, especially the scene where they have the planet sparkles with the whole joke about Twilight, essentially. It was a vampire that sparkles, and he likes to talk about feelings and wears women's jeans. But I feel like they're saying, though, through the way that they use their language, that if you like those things, that's bad, or that's stupid, or that's something that only little girls are into. Is kind of mean. And I think they maybe could have done it in a different way to be funny, but not hurtful to people that happen to like those things. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean that my neighbor doesn't. So I did feel like that didn't really gel right for me. But I do also get what you're saying, that it didn't fit with the rest of the story. The brother and sister trying to get along, or explaining why maybe they would want you to think that they're being brainwashed and they're actually not. Maybe it had to do with Finn not being able to see that the sister just wanted to bring them together peacefully, as she said. But yeah, it just didn't really fit with anything else happening in the movie.
Yeah, I think you might have put your finger on it, in that's a representation of... that it is a representation of what Finn is like rejecting. So so it's kind of, it's a representation of the things he's trying to let go of, which is all the things he doesn't think are cool, and therefore he kind of sees it as being like, oh no, I'm not into that like conformist, like, I don't love that type of pop music, that represents. Whereas that's actually a misrepresentation of what happened, which is where I think Rex and Finn, they read the situations wrong, because and they see things incorrectly because they actually haven't had a conversation with those people, and so their perception of the events is not actually correct.
So maybe that's what the brainwashing thing was about.
Yeah, I think that might be what they're going for. I still wish that I feel like it kind of flowed better in that. And part of what you said, I think, from the first Lego movie, I kind of noticed in this Lego movie, was that sometimes I felt like the movie was kind of all over the place, that they still hadn't found a way to be able to focus enough. Like, this movie is kind of all ADD, and they still weren't able to focus enough to truly have the themes blossom in the way that they could have if there was just a wee bit more focus.
Yeah, I think definitely when they go to the Systar System is when it kind of falls apart for 20 minutes to me, until they finally get to when you think it's the end of the movie. You know, they even have that sort of beginning credit scene come up and say end. And I actually thought to myself, no way are they going to end it on such a down note. But then they bring it back, and that's when they throw in that song, Everything's Not Awesome. And it brought everything together finally. But it definitely gets confusing when you're going back and forth between all these different points. It gets to where you're trying to be able to decipher what is the point here, because there's too many.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, I like that we're basically trying to get to a point in the film, which is to say, like what you like. It's okay to like what you like, no matter what age you are, So, whether that means that you like the Spice Girls still, or you still enjoy Legos, or, you still like Star Wars, or, whatever it is, it's okay to like the things you like. It's also okay to not like the things you don't like. This is a movie that's just trying to say, but we don't have to be mean towards people because they like things we don't like. I thought that was something that was really a good point to the film and part of that whole message. So there's some really fun cameos that we get in the movie. I have a favorite. Do you have a favorite?
Bruce Willis is my favorite.
I mean, absolutely 100% the best thing. It may be the best thing in the movie.
I mean, the crawling through the air ducts was great.
Yes. Hey, are you Bruce Willis? Yeah. I mean, I don't really live here, but yeah, like it was, and the fact that they got Bruce Willis to actually do it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that you couldn't have done it if you didn't have the actual Bruce Willis voice, if you're talking about him. But it was totally out of left field. I mean, of course, I guess in the first one, we didn't expect to see Lando and Han.
Yeah, that's true.
I definitely did not expect then for Bruce Willis to be in this one. Maybe they thought with the timing of Glass being around the same time that it was a good time to bring Bruce Willis in.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, that was, I think, the best cameo. I mean, we got Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which was funny. But, I mean, it wasn't quite as funny as Bruce Willis.
Well, and my thing is, even if you like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she's just kind of in vogue right now and everywhere. So it felt like a cheap thing to include that we've seen before lately. Not that I don't like her, but I thought that was kind of I've seen that cameo before. But I thought it was great to have Superman and Green Lantern back.
Yeah.
And especially having the same actors doing the voices.
That was great. That and I don't know, but I really enjoyed Larry Poppins. So
I don't remember Larry Poppins.
Well, he's in the cave, and a spoonful of salt actually is what really supposedly helps the medicine go down with Larry Poppins.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they were actually going to do Larry Potter, but they decided that they might really upset Harry Potter fans by doing that, so they just went with Larry Poppins instead. So
yeah, either one's fine.
It was a really small thing. I just some of those little cameos were really funny, and Bruce Willis, like, I want that minifigure now. Like, I want that, and I couldn't find a Bruce Willis minifigure in any of the Lego Movie 2 sets, which I was disappointed in. So,
I need to look and see what sets they came out with then, because that would be cool to see.
Yeah, I'm looking, and hopefully they will come out with a Bruce Willis minifigure, because if they don't, I think it's a travesty.
Yeah. Well, I would really like one of the general I thought was the coolest looking figure
Oh.
because of the wings and the helmet.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was really interesting, because by putting those characters, you brought the Lego Friends, characters together with, normal Legos, and having her be there was pretty fun. And I did think it was funny because when she took her helmet off, it was almost like she was she almost felt Harley Quinn-ish. With her
Right, yeah,
makeup and
to
her
me too, like Suicide
pigtails.
Squad. Yeah. And I think they also, too, go to a Polly Pocket village.
Oh,
don't
really?
they? Yeah, there was one point where they're in a neighborhood, and I think it's all like the new version of Polly Pocket, because for me personally, that was a travesty, because the original Polly Pocket was actually pocket size. She was, maybe a centimeter tall. And the new ones are like the size of half a Barbie.
I have not seen those in the store. Huh.
Yeah, you'll have to see sometime. But, it's one of those things you notice, I guess, if you played with them more.
Yeah, I never played with Polly Pocket. So
Really?
yeah, not my thing. So, what did you think about, this movie had a lot of songs in it. So what did you think about all the new music?
I think the best one was Just Not Into Gotham City, guys, because I'm still singing it in my head. Just not into Gotham City, guys. So I think if Tiffany Haddish really sang that one too, that she was really great. But that one, and then the credits song, I actually stayed to watch the credits because they made them so interesting, both visually and musically.
They were super cool.
Yeah.
I heartily agree. The fact that they had Beck singing with Robin and Lonely Island doing the credits was hilarious. And not only that, but they were kind of making fun of the credits, like, oh, this guy's my favorite, editor, and that kind of stuff. Like
producers. Wow.
Yes, which is kind of what, I've sat there before in the credits and been like, you just pull out a random name. Oh, I love that guy, So, yeah, I thought that was really funny. I thought it was interesting that they took, like, I'm not sure if you could make a song that could probably be more obnoxious for parents than Everything Is Awesome, but then you made catchy song, and I'm pretty sure they did it. So I feel really sorry for parents who, their kids are going to want to listen to the soundtrack a million times, and they get to catchy song, and it is...
That's the one that says, this one will get stuck in your head.
The song's going to get stuck inside your head. I really do. I feel sorry for parents, so...
But it's hilarious that they used those words in that kind of song, that it is getting stuck in your head while they're saying it'll get stuck in your head. I loved the back and forth with that. But I definitely wanted to throw out with the music as well. I'm glad that you mentioned Lonely Island, but I was so excited when I saw that a comedian I like named John LaJoie was one of the people working on the music for this movie. And he actually, if no one has heard of him, I'm sure a lot of you have, but he was a character on the TV show The League named Taco MacArthur. And so suddenly in this movie, Taco Tuesday made so much sense to me.
Nice.
So I think that's why they threw it in there. But yeah, basically his character on The League was called Taco partially because he's just this strange person who never really has a real job. He kind of mooches off everybody, and no one knows how he got the name, but everyone just calls him Taco. And so I thought that was so fitting.
That is funny. I thought they did a really good job of having the movie have more songs like this, kind of turn it into that musical format in some places. And I think my favorite songs from the movie were probably, I really enjoyed Not Evil. I thought that was really clever.
Oh, yeah.
And Everything's Not Awesome. And then, that song closing out the credits, super cool, was just really funny. I thought it was a really enjoyable way to make people want to stay and watch the credits. So, if we were going to rate the Lego movie, where did you come down on this one, did you think?
I kind of felt the same as I did for the first Lego movie. So I still would give it a 7 out of 10 Queen Whatever Wannabes.
Nice.
Or Wa-Nabi. I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Because it felt like it still took a long time to get to the meat of the point. And in the middle, I mean, I almost fell asleep at the middle of this movie because it got a little too crazy for me to keep up with where it was going. But it still had really great new music and not just one song like the first movie. So maybe even I would give it a 7.5. But it was catchy in a good way. It still had a really good message. It had something that I think that even little kids could take away from it and possibly make different decisions than they would in dealing with their siblings. Now, after seeing that movie, I'll have to ask my sister, though, and see if it really made a dent. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's a movie that I did really enjoy. I think there was enough that was different about this one than the first one that made it fun to watch. I do think, I think you had really called out in the first movie the fact that, there is kind of a schizophrenia about this that just kind of never went away. And it is a little bit frustrating that they didn't maybe find a way to just focus just a little bit more. Because I feel like there's a lot of themes in here that we talked about, but none of them are as coherent as I think they could have been if they've just spent just a bit more time to focus. And, again, I really enjoy the Lego movies. I think they're a lot of fun. And this is a great addition to the Lego movie franchise. I would probably give this, I think this is good 7 out of 10. I think you're right there on target with that. I think this is 7 out of 10 talking ice cream cones. So I did enjoy it. But I can say, honestly, kind of looking forward, I don't know if I need any more Lego movies. I feel like
it's funny. I was going to say the same thing.
Keep going. I think that we're just trying to push it for money. I just don't see there being a need to do any more of these. And I don't think you're going to be able to pull off another Toy Story 3 where it's like possibly the best movie so far. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and I think that this one left off in a place where the story really wrapped up well, and you don't need to add another piece to it. It would just feel exactly like what you said, that it was trying to get money if they suddenly go, and wait, you didn't realize they had another younger sister or brother or cousin that comes to visit, like they're a Sid or something. So, yeah, I think that we can stop here. If they make more, I'm going to feel like this is the Land Before Time situation and we're never going to get out of this loop.
Yes.
Great movie, but I can't go back to it because I'll cry.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I had a lot of fun getting a chance to, just see the movie. I will say this. I wish I had gotten to see it again before we gotten a chance to talk about it because there is so much that's going on. I think that would have definitely helped, but I did not. So otherwise, a blast as always to get to talk about a movie with you. So thankful for our associate producers here through Patreon, Ken Tripp, Davis Grayson, Ryan Millette, and Daniel Noah for supporting us here on the 602 Club and the network through Patreon. This is a huge network, and there's no way that we can possibly do this without your help. And patreon.com/TrekFM is the place that you can go to support the network each and every month to make sure that all of the content coming to you for Trek FM comes to you. Every little bit helps. We've got some great contribution levels as well that come with extra perks. Again, that's patreon.com/TrekFM. Christy, if anybody wants to catch up with you online, where can they find you?
they can find me on Instagram and Twitter at BespinBell, Belle. And I'm also, of course, in the Babel Conference if you want to discuss any of the episodes of 602. And I have just started doing a monthly segment for the Star Wars Report podcast with our friends Riley and Bruce. Monthly, I'll be doing a 5-minute Star Wars fashion update. So,
Nice.
yeah, and so that'll be for both men and women, so don't feel like anybody's excluded. So I hope you'll check that out too.
Well, and you can find me on Twitter, MattRushing02, Instagram, and Letterboxd under that same name. You can find me here on the network doing The Orb with Chris Jones, talking about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Then I'm over on the Nerd Party Network talking about a couple things. One is Harry Potter over on Owlpost, where I'm talking one chapter at a time through the series Harry Potter with Drea Kaufman. It's a lot of fun. I'm doing Aggressive Negotiations with John Mills as we're talking about Star Wars every week. We just pick a topic from the wars that we've been thinking about and discuss that. It is a blast. So if you like Star Wars, it's the place for you. And then last but not least, Cinema Stories that I do with Courtney is back this year. And that is where we talk about films, but through the lens of faith. Thank you so much for joining us.
And y'all come back now, you hear?
Thank you.